Patrick, you're attending the conference today and yesterday, Schrödinger at 75. What made you want to attend?
Well, when I first saw it, I knew that Schrödinger had come to Ireland in the 40s, that Eamon de Valera had invited him, inveigled him, I don't know what the word is, to head up the Dublin Institute of Advanced Studies. And of course, I think almost everybody knows about Schrödinger's cat. So I thought, well, that's interesting. And I've just recently retired, so I knew that I would have time to come. And the more I looked at it, the more I thought, wow, this could be really interesting. Not my area of expertise or line of knowledge, but it would expand my horizons, I felt. And I'd have to say, after yesterday's talks, I thought this was fabulous. I think I tweeted that my intellect was being expanded, but I was concerned for an explosive decompression afterwards.
Maybe explain that a little bit more. Let's start with, you talked about how it expanded your intellect and mind. What were the speakers and themes that particularly connected with you?
It's very difficult without a list of them in front of me to remember their names. It's really just their ability to communicate about their area of research and expertise and how that affects all of us on the globe, or will ultimately. Things like looking at traces of DNA from Neanderthals and the movement of people, is the best word to call them, over the millennia, and issues about how emotion is understood and how it works. I thought Ada Yonath from Israel was just fabulous in relation to ribosomes. And when she showed a cartoon at the end, which showed her fairly significant head of hair, and it looked like the ribosomal diagrams we had had, I just thought that was priceless. But it was so clear in the explanation, because, I mean, I've known about protein synthesis for a very long time, sort of, and this just opened it up so much. And to see that James Watson was in the front row, it's just mind-boggling what this conference has brought together and enabled people from lots of different backgrounds to understand other people's work, which is expanding the horizons of science and of mankind. And that really, I think, fits in with what Schrödinger was trying to do.
So let's talk about your background. Could you describe the work that you did before you retired?
Oh, sure, I was only a doctor. A jobbing doctor, like a medical guy, not the proper doctors you get in the university. I was a consultant in emergency medicine at St James's and a clinical professor in emergency medicine at Trinity. I was in James's for nearly 30 years, headed up the emergency department, and towards the end of my career was the medical director of the hospital, and for a brief period was the acting chief executive officer of St James's, which was a bit of a change from running the emergency department with a budget of about 400 million. It's rather larger than my own pay packet, but it was interesting. And I've recently retired, and now I have time to go to this sort of thing, and it's a new life.
What I find really interesting about this last 2 days is that there's so much collaboration between clinicians and researchers. How would you like to see that collaborative process develop in the future?
I think they're very important, and I think there are areas that we wouldn't have thought were important. And one of the things yesterday was Lee Hood talking about big data and mentioning Fitbits. And I should say we, but actually it's not me, it's nothing to do with me. But my department has been doing a wellness research over the past year or 18 months where they were using Fitbits and they were doing focused meditation, and they were looking at beat-to-beat variability in heart rate. And it's just fascinating to see that whereas people have said it has an effect, it looks like it really does have a measurable effect physiologically. And these are things that I think will expand our ability to look after people in the future. whether we come to another mass extinction fairly soon, after this summer in Ireland, I'm not sure we're too far away from it, and who knows what will arrive after that. But I think all of this research work needs to be grounded in what we can use it for, and a lot of the medical stuff is and will be. Beyond that, I think it's just incumbent on man and woman to think and to use that thought process to figure out what we should do to make life better for everybody.
So obviously when we're looking to the future, particularly around issues to do with health or science that relates to humanity, we have to think about the ethics. And you mentioned that you were sort of concerned about the future in some ways. Do you have any other thoughts on what are the things that we should watch out for as we're sort of pushing science and medicine towards the future?
I'm slightly iconoclastic about this, I think, because I'm concerned that everybody is focusing on curing every known disease. And I'm thinking, well, if we do that, it's going to get very, very crowded on this earth. And I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, actually. I think it's important that we make people's lives as comfortable as we can and as pleasant as we can. But ultimately, if we just keep chipping away at little bits of the aging process, I don't think we're going to achieve that. And I think that's where we need to consider the ethical issues.
Well, those are the big questions that are being asked here. So thank you so much. It was brilliant to speak with you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to talk to you.